Hello, I'm Danny Pellegrino with Everything Iconic. Clea DuVall, the director, the writer of the Happiest season. Clea, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And you guys had the premiere at the Grove yesterday, a drive-in premiere. What was it like seeing this movie with a group? I know it's not a theater, but
It was so cool. As we were driving up it was like on the rooftop, which was so beautiful. It was such a gorgeous night in LA, and driving up and just thinking, this is all just because I had an idea one day that we're all able to do this. It's just,
right.
it's never lost on me how, just how lucky I am.
So take me to that day. I mean, I'm a gay man and I worship Christmas movies. I'm a huge, you can't see my tree. It's on the other side of this, but it's already up.
Can I see it though?
I can't, I can
maybe at the end.
At the end, we'll flip it. We'll flip it.
I do want to see it. I've been trying to get my partner to let me put up the Christmas tree. She says no, too soon.
Here, wait, I'm going to move it carefully. Can you see?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'd give you a better one if I could.
I'm just going to do that while she's sleeping.
It honestly made me feel so much better. Like I needed it, especially this year we've had. I feel like I just needed the tree up. But so take me in that moment where you were like, I want to write this movie. I have to write this movie. What was that like?
Well, it's funny because, I love holiday movies. I love the genre so much, in spite of never having seen my experience represented, I still look forward to watching them every single year. And then when I moved into, writing and directing, I realized that I could make that movie that I had always wanted to see, and that was a really inspiring moment and led to me thinking about the story and like, what would, an LGBTQ plus, holiday movie look like, and I started thinking about, my experiences of going home. I've spent most of my Christmases with other people's families and, getting sort of like thrown into the deep end of somebody else's family dynamics is very intense, but like a lot of humor comes out of that. And then also, I've spent a lot of, I've gone home with people as the friend. A lot of times I've had, brought people with me places as the friend. And I think, a lot of queer people can probably relate to that, the times where we have to play friends, with our partners and the humor that can come out of that, but then it's all, at its core, it's also a very like real emotional story. So it really felt like the perfect way into the genre and to make a holiday movie that centers around a queer relationship, but then, also is about something very real.
It's so funny you mentioned that because my boyfriend, we've been together almost 11 years now. And for the first few years, my grandpa was still alive. He's since passed, but we always had to say he was my roommate. And it was, looking back on it now, I don't think I would still do the same thing. I think I would tell him like, this is my boyfriend, but my mom was always so insistent. It took her a while. I'm from Ohio. It took her a while to come around. And it was always like, just tell him it's too much for grandpa to understand. Like, it's too much. And now I'd be different. But so my boyfriend would always be sitting at the table with my grandpa and he'd be like, so are you dating anyone? He'd ask my boyfriend. It's like, insane. You mentioned you love holiday movies. What movies do you like? What kind of holiday movies are you into?
I love Home Alone. I love Scrooged. I love Gremlins. I love Family Stone.
Family Stone, that was the first time I remember seeing like a gay man. I know it's not a rom-com, but I remember seeing the son and it was so impactful to me. I remember at the end, he has a baby, like when they flash forward and just being able to watch that with my parents at a time when I wasn't comfortable with myself, it was so impactful. So I think about your movie and what it would have meant to me to see that as a young kid. And I could tear up just thinking about it. When they made the announcement for your film, I was so overwhelmed with emotion because I've watched so many of these with my family in the Midwest and I'm in Los Angeles now, but I was so overwhelmed. And then seeing it, watching this movie, it was overwhelming. I wish I had a better adjective, but
I understand. That's how I feel when I think about, getting to make this movie. It really is. I could get, very weepy about it very easily, because it's something that, that I've always wanted to see, that, that even that I get to make this movie, that I get to watch this movie, that and even at the drive-in last night watching it, I was just like, oh my God, like it happened,
It's such a big deal, Clea.
Yeah.
Like it's such a big deal. I feel like on this podcast, I've been talking forever about we need LGBTQ representation in this genre. And thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Oh my God. It is such an honor. And I'm so grateful that I got to make this movie, and that there were so many people, other members of, the LGBTQ plus community, and also allies. Like it was a real labor of love. And there were so many people along the way who were so on board with telling the story. And it was so heartening to see how many people, wanted this to happen too.
Right. Now, did you get any pushback from the studio? Because not only do you have these two lesbian characters at the center of it, but you also had the Daniel Levy character who's gay. And I was thinking in my head, it was surprising because oftentimes when there's an LGBTQ character, it's like you get one character, maybe two characters. Yeah. And here you also had the friend side character. Was there ever any pushback about that?
Never. The studio was always so supportive and really understood, the significance of this movie, and really because I was the only gay person involved in this movie at all until we started putting the cast together and the crew. There were no queer executives or producers or anything. So it was really, the studio was very respectful, and really, if they would sort of pitch something to me and I'd be like, no, that's not right, they'd be like, okay, yeah, of course, it's your story, we don't know. They were very, they were very aware of what they didn't know, and they didn't ever try to force an agenda. They were very respectful, and it was nice. It was nice to feel so supported, and that this story was always given the respect that it deserved.
I've often heard women filmmakers talk about what it's like when they're on a set where it's a female-led cast or a largely female cast. And I wonder, did you notice a similar feeling, being that there were so many LGBTQ members in the cast and crew on this?
It was really cool because I'm so used to being the only one, I would say 90% of the time the only queer person on set. And I don't really think about it very much. And I it wasn't until I was not the only one that I was like, hey, wait a second, something's different, and it was really cool. It was so nice to be able to have that shorthand and that the couple people to connect with, to be like, this thing, right, that we all know about. It was so comfortable and familiar, and I just loved it. It was so cool.
There were so many little relatable moments as a queer person, but also there's little details when the Kristen Stewart character and when the two leads were hooking up in the basement bedroom, and the mom had to come in to get her supplies. That's my life too. That was a little, I felt like Midwest detail where I'm like, oh, I recognize that. Yeah. Also, I think it was so important to see it. It felt like winter, whereas a lot of times these movies feel like we're on a soundstage somewhere in Los Angeles. And so that must have been a conscious choice to film it. Yeah. I think you filmed it in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, we filmed in Pittsburgh. I really wanted, even though I'm from Los Angeles, I just think, trying to sell Los Angeles at Christmas time is a joke. It's 75 degrees, the sun is out. We don't have seasons. Okay. We know. But, so I really wanted to set it back east, and it was originally written for New York, but we couldn't afford to shoot there. So when we started looking around at other places, Pittsburgh seemed like the best fit. Just visually, I loved what it looked like, and we were going to shoot Pittsburgh for New York. But then once I started, researching Pittsburgh and seeing the photos that were coming back from the location scouts, I was like, this place is so gorgeous. The city is beautiful. I would rather just change it to Pittsburgh so we can really embrace, embrace it and like take advantage of all the gifts that Pittsburgh has to offer. So that was really cool. And yeah, it was freezing. And we were originally going to shoot this movie at the end of or in the very beginning of 2019. And then, just like logistic things happened, and we kept pushing later and later and later to the point where we were about to start filming. Like we would have started filming in like May. And I just was like, I don't want to make this Christmas movie in, spring, summer. Like the light is different in the winter. Like you can tell when you can see people's breath, like it makes such a difference.
Huge difference.
I just said like, I would rather wait. And maybe we'll lose people and maybe we won't, but I'd rather gamble and make this movie the right way, because you can't, because this hasn't been done before on this scale. Like you have to get it right. You can't mess up, because you don't want to be the movie that makes people go, see, I told you we shouldn't do this. You want to be the movie that makes people go, oh yeah, we can do this. People are interested. Let's make more.
I'm thinking about that pressure that you're mentioning. What's that like? Because I mean, I've heard that talked about when it comes to like the female superhero genre. And I feel like it must be a similar pressure. Obviously it's a different scale of budget, but there's still, I mean, so many LGBTQ people are looking forward to this movie and excited about it. And that just must feel a little bit overwhelming.
I mean, it feels, the main thing it feels is really exciting to do something that people care about that much and are so invested in already is very, very meaningful. But there is pressure that comes along with that, because you want to do it right and you want to honor the story and you want to be authentic and you want to make a movie that's good enough that encourages studios to invest money to make those bigger budget LGBTQ plus stories, because it is long overdue that we're seeing a movie like this, but thank God we are. And like, let's see more, so, but, and you also want to, what was really helped me not feel like buckle under the weight of the pressure was really just like keeping myself focused on telling the story and telling the best story I could in the best way I could, and like making it authentic and making it personal. And I think if you're telling a personal story in the most honest way you can, like as a storyteller, you can't go wrong. So that was I couldn't control what people thought of it. I couldn't control if people liked it, but I could control, what I put into it. And I put everything I could into it. And hopefully, audiences will feel,
they did. I did.
Feel the love that we all put into it.
Clea, I also was like sobbing at the end. Like I thought it was so beautiful. And I have to say, like, I've never thought Kristen Stewart I've never seen her that magnetic. Like I thought she just stunning looking on camera. Like I'm literally like looking, I'm like, this is the most beautiful human ever. Like, and not that I didn't like her before. I don't know. I guess I'd never been exposed to her in that way. And I was watching it and I was like, she is the most stunning person ever. Like I'm done with Dick now. I love her. She's stunning. Yeah. Beautiful leads. But so what was it like getting the cast involved? Did you have people in mind as you were writing it, or was it something that they matched up later?
It was more that we matched up later. The only part that we really wrote for someone was Mary Holland. We wrote the role of Jane for her.
She's so good too. She's good.
Great. She's so great. But Kristen really just felt, even though she is known as a dramatic actress, I've also seen her be so like funny and silly and free on Saturday Night Live. And that was the moment where I was like, oh, it's Kristen. Kristen is the only person that can play Abby, because she can do this, she can do that. It's great. Perfect. Let's do it. Yeah. But, it was still not, it's not the genre that she normally does. So we really we worked together a lot just to make sure that we had that, like we were always staying in the tone of the movie, because, the beginning of the movie is a lot, it's sort of the more traditional light comedy holiday movie. And then it really transitions into a more emotional place. And, to be able to really land the emotion, we had to set up with we had to lead with the humor I called it hiding the vegetables. And Kristen always liked that. I was like, Kristen, we got to hide the vegetables. She was like, yeah, right.
Oh my God.
But I thought she did such a beautiful job, and she's so charming, and I just love her so much. And there's so many moments, like we keep talking about, like we need to watch the movie together so I can like point out all the things she did that I loved. To be like, oh, it's that. I loved when you did that. I loved that. That was great. It's just, I am so in love with everybody in this movie. It's like,
I mean, everyone is great. Everyone is great. But Kristen Stewart, I was just blown away by her. And I loved seeing that other side of her. Like it made me want to see more comedic stuff from her and light stuff. When you guys were sitting down to write it, you and Mary Holland, were you borrowing things from other holiday rom-coms or other movies or? Not
really. I mean, when I'm writing, I don't like to watch other things because I don't want the thing to become derivative. Even though we were really following the rules of the genre, we weren't like, I didn't want to like steal anything.
Right.
We wanted our to tell our story on our terms. And then, once I got into, the like transition from like the script stage into like the filmmaking stage, my DP and my production designer and I watched a lot of romantic comedies and holiday movies and just like movies set in the winter. Like a big one for us weirdly was Groundhog Day. Mm-hmm. We watched a lot, and it just, the way that they captured the winter felt really good. And that was more where we were like, because we wanted to strike this balance of, making it feel like a holiday movie without, shoving holiday iconography down your throat at all times and like painting everything red and green and putting lights on everything and being like, it's a Christmas movie. It was like, because Christmas is a feeling. And we worked very hard to be able to communicate that through, the photography and through the sets and all of that.
My boyfriend and I we're binging Veep right now, and I've seen it before, but he's watching it for the first time. And we just got to your episode where the Catherine character is revealed to be dating your character. But we're having the best time binging. And also it feels like Veep is a good binge right now because it feels like you're being politically engaged without having so much to deal with the reality of it all. What are you binging right now? Like, are you a binge watch? Do you watch stuff on TV, or like, are you
I do. I mean, I'm a completionist. So once I start something, I have to finish it. So that makes TV very daunting to me. If there's too much of it, then I'm just like, I can't possibly start watching that show. There are 8 seasons. How am I going to get anything else done? I'm a little obsessive. But the thing that we just finished was The Vow and Seduced. We watched both of those.
The Stars one, right?
Seduced is Stars. Yeah.
Okay. I bet somebody was just telling me I need to watch that. But I feel like it might be too dark for me. Is it too dark?
It's not dark.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Vow?
No.
Okay.
No, my boyfriend likes all that heavy stuff, and I'm like just watching The Real Housewives all the time.
Yeah. And I don't blame you. I don't watch those housewives shows, but the thing that I watched during quarantine that I had never seen before, but Mary Holland actually is a huge fan of Survivor, like obsessed with Survivor, kept telling me to watch it. And I was like, I have never seen an episode. I don't care. And then she finally talked me into it, and I got CBS All Access, and then I started watching it and became obsessed with it. We have watched from like the beginning of quarantine to now 20 seasons.
Isn't that the best though, Clea? Isn't it just so fun to just sit when you know you have a show?
It is. But then we had to stop because it was getting to be too much. I was like, we need to take a break. We're watching too much.
Right. We were doing Top Chef, like from the beginning.
Oh my God. How good was this season of Top Chef?
Well, so I didn't the newest season. I didn't watch the newest season. We like started from the beginning. So we got up through like 11, and then we were like, we need to take a break because we loved it. But we were like, we watched 11 seasons. It's so good. And I'm obsessed with Gail and Padma and Tom.
I am so obsessed with Gail. Right. I have a kind of a crush on Gail, and I was at a party once and she was there and she came up to me, and it was as though like the Beatles had walked up to me. It was like, hi, Gail. I was so nervous and awkward and just didn't play it cool at all. If I met Padma, I don't know what I would do.
Right.
I just wouldn't do it. I would just walk away.
She's got a great show on Hulu. Did you see that? It was like Taste the Nation, I think it's called.
Someone just told me about that. I need to watch it.
Yeah. So we took a Top Chef break for Veep, and I feel like Veep is the perfect amount of time for a binge show.
Yeah, I agree.
Clea, I got to ask you about But I'm a Cheerleader, another iconic LGBTQ film. They're coming out with a director's cut soon, I think, right? I believe next week there's going to be a director's cut release. Yeah. Do you have any memories from that film?
Oh my God. I have so many memories from that. Jamie Babbitt, who's the director of that film, is a very good friend of mine. And Natasha is my best friend. And we really...
Did you guys meet on that movie?
No, we met. She was in that movie because of me.
Oh, okay.
We had met and become friends. And I was in San Francisco making a movie, and she came up to visit me, and we were driving around, and I had the script for But I'm a Cheerleader in my car, and she picked it up and she's like, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, it's a script for this movie I'm doing in December." And she was like, "Can I be in it?" And I was like, "Sure, probably." And then we went back to the place that I was staying, and we laid in bed and read the script and read through it. And she was like, "I want to be in this movie." And I was like, "Okay, I'll call Jamie." And then, called Jamie, and she was in the movie, and that's how she got in that movie.
And were you out at the time, or were you aware? What was that process like?
I mean, I was out in my life, but I wasn't out as an actor. That wasn't until much later. It was, making that movie as a closeted actor was really, it was a real dance to try to stay closeted, because people, of course, were it was like sharks in the water, and I was just covered in, chicken or something. They were just like, "Oh, we got to get you out," which also was a scary thing to feel like that for the first time. Feeling like people were trying to out me was so weird and bad. And I feel like we've come a long way since then, luckily.
Were you aware, even now, are you aware of the impact that movie had on LGBTQ people? Absolutely.
I mean, it is definitely I think the most important movie I've done as an actor, just through the years, people approaching me and telling me how significant that movie was for them. It has been so meaningful to me. Every single person who has ever talked to me about their experience really is a big part of what gave me strength and helped me get to a place where I could come out, in a different way, but still feel more comfortable. Cause the amount of people who, were able to be so strong and so brave was so inspiring to me because of that movie. And I was so lucky. And what was I hiding from,
I think back, I feel like I'm getting emotional right now. And thinking back as I was a teenager in Ohio, and that was a movie I remember renting from the video store. And there wasn't a lot of LGBT movies at that time. And I think that's why the Happiest season, for instance, is so important. The more representation, the more people can see themselves on screen, the more comfortable people feel in their own lives. And I don't know that people who haven't experienced it can get it. Yeah. I wonder sometimes, if my straight father or brother or something, if they understand because they've seen themselves represented for years on screen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they are the default, they are the default lens that we see everything through, not just movies and TV, but the world, so it is, and there is on a subconscious level, I'm sure we all feel as queer people, just that we're, that our experience is not the primary one, or it's somehow less than, and that's just not true, and I think the more we can get, the more representation we have, and the more we can see stories that are universal, told from from a queer perspective, I think we'll hopefully in time take away this idea that, there's only one valuable lens to see the world through.
Yeah. Clea, what's next for you? What do you want to tackle next? I think you have a movie with Tegan and Sarah. Is that right?
I'm developing a series based on their memoir. So I've been working on writing that, and That's been really fun. I mean, there's two of my best friends, and their memoir was so beautiful, and I'm really excited about that.
And they have a song on the soundtrack for the Happiest season, right?
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of your other projects. I love The Faculty. We just watched it over Halloween. I think it's like a really fun, not slasher movie, but kind of a big budget B movie, if you will. Like, I thought it was great. Do you have any memories from that movie?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a fun movie to make. You know, the cast was so great, and we all got along really well. And we shot it in Austin, Texas over a summer. And, you know, we had a lot of night shoots. I feel like we had at least like a month of night shoots. So we all lived on this very specific schedule where we would, you know, work all night and sleep during the day. And it was just so, I don't know, it was a really special experience. And Robert Rodriguez was so fun to work with and really made filmmaking feel accessible and, you know, shared so much with us. And it was such a blast to make that movie.
And Josh Hartnett's in that movie. Of course, I've always been in love with that man. And so stunning. Wasn't there? Did I spot like a poster in the Happiest season of Josh Hartnett? Okay, yeah. I was like, yeah, I see that. What about? Is there a favorite of your movies? I mean, I could mention She's All That, Can't Hardly Wait, Girl Interrupted, which was such a beautiful, powerful movie. Aside from But I'm a Cheerleader, is there something that sticks out that really feels like such an important role for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had, you know, like on an artistic level, there was a show that I did for HBO called Carnival that was only on for 2 seasons. That was not very well received at the time, but has since, you know, people have, you know, kind of found it later and really loved it. But that was such an incredible experience that I loved that show so much that I feel, you know, I still miss it. There's still like the little part of me that's like, well, maybe we could reboot. They're rebooting everything. I just saw they're rebooting Punky Brewster, so they can reboot apparently, you know, so it was really, you know, that was really meaningful to me, a meaningful thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I loved, you know, like Argo was such a cool experience, and Veep was like a masterclass in comedy. And I mean,
it's really the funniest fucking show ever. Like rewatching it, I'm like, it's just the funniest show ever. And Julia Louise, I mean,
forget about it. She is so remarkable to work with. Like, because I am an actor who, like, I really need to like know my lines and prepare, and like I'm not that good to just, you know, if I just get something in the moment and have to do it, I feel terrified because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But Julia, because we would rewrite so much, we would rehearse a scene and then the writers would go and rewrite it, and we would go away and come back to set and they'd be like, here's the new scene, and we would all get it. And Julia would have like this much dialogue in a 5-page scene, and you know, and we would rehearse it a couple times, and then she would just come out with that performance that was just like, how are you doing that? How it is hard enough for me to do these 2 lines, and you're doing like full paragraphs, such complicated stuff. And she's a genius. And
no one swears better than Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Like her saying the F word or anything, it's just like literally the best thing ever.
The best.
Clea, I want to wrap this up, but I first of all just have to thank you from the bottom of my heart. No, I'm not trying to kiss your ass or anything. I just genuinely thank you for this movie. And I hope this movie is a huge success for Hulu and we get more and more of these. I've noticed a shift in 2020, even on television within like the Lifetime area of holiday movies. It feels like we're starting to get more LGBTQ representation on screen. So, you know, I want to thank you. I ask everyone this last question. It's a silly question. What's your favorite Mariah Carey song?
Oh my God. Vision of Love. It was the song that made me fall in love with her, and it still gets me every time.
Classic. Clea, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much.